Hello dear aspirants, I am Akriti Kanchi, your mentor from Prep-IS, and I am trying to help you read newspaper in UPSC relevant manner. Today is 22nd April and we are a little bit late because UPSC results were out. We were busy since last night. Students were excited what is going to happen and what not, and today a lot of people succeeded, some failed, right? So it was a little important yet difficult day for us as mentors and people and coach working in UPSC world, right? So let's finish, but nevertheless let's start our 22nd April newspaper and let's finish it as fast as possible. There are important contents from polity point of view, from essay ethics point of view, and also from science point of view, right? So let's start 22nd April. So Pope Francis, a cheerful reformer, dies aged 88. We'll discuss about him in the world page where his few of reforms were mentioned, and he was quite a rational and different Pope than his predecessors. We'll discuss that. And this is just informative. Modi, Vance see progress in bilateral trade talks. So Vice President of USA has come to India, J.D. Vance, with his wife and his kids, and a lot of talks are going on. These things will come in coming days of newspaper also. This comes under GS paper 2, bilateral relations between India and USA. Nothing very significant has been signed, but a little bit follow up that he has come to India. That much is basic that we should know. Let's go to the next article. Yesterday we talked about heat stress management in the next page. Yeah, so I'll just repeat it again. CM of Delhi unveils Heat Action Plan HAP to combat heat waves. We have discussed a detailed article yesterday, Monday 21st April. If you have not seen, please go and watch. It can form your entire answer in mains, okay, mains GS paper 3. Okay, so Delhi Heat Action Plan 2025 was released. 3,000 water coolers will be installed. Heat wave alerts will be sent through SMSs, okay. Heat wave wards will be created in government hospitals. Dedicated wards with ICU beds and essential medicines will be there. Cooling centers in densely populated areas. Yesterday we discussed about cool roofing technology in government buildings. More shaded spaces at bus stops, setting up assistance centers in slums. We also discussed about heat stroke room in hospitals where there will be tubs filled with ice and water, which will be good steps for these. These are short-term steps, okay? Long-term steps we discussed in yesterday's newspaper. Let's move to the next article. We'll directly go to the editorial page, right? Landmark agreement. Landmark agreement is done by WHO, World Health Organization. So this comes under GS paper 2, international important international institutions, WHO. So member states of WHO have agreed on measures to prevent, prepare for, and respond to pandemic. So when pandemic happened, countries were not prepared for it, okay? So WHO this time is creating a draft agreement so that they are prepared from the next time if something of like this has happened, and a draft has been finalized and is called as Generational Accord to Make the World Safer, which will be adopted next month by the World Health Assembly. Okay, so intergovernmental negotiating body finalized a proposal for WHO pandemic agreement. Okay, so there were a lot of issues between global north, global south, what developed countries want to give, what developing countries want to, give and take, right? So there were issues. So very priorities has been taken of both. So disagreements. The developed countries generally take a lot of data from developing countries and do not transfer technology or vaccines in the way they should. And that is the problem developing countries face with them. One of the example is the disagreements are reminiscent of how Indonesia turned the spotlight on inequitable H5N1 sample sharing mechanism in the mid-2000s in absence of equitable and affordable access to vaccines developed using its samples. So developed country used the samples from Indonesia, but did not, and made vaccines out of it, but did not give vaccines to Indonesia, right? That's not a right example, right? So developing countries that share pathogen samples and genome sequence data are guaranteed to get access to any diagnostics, vaccines, and treatments. Okay, so this is appreciated, this agreement promoting equitable access to health products. The treaty under lines that countries should promote and otherwise facilitate or incentivize the exchange of technology and know-how so that developing countries can also make their own vaccines. So it is going to come in the next month also. Another article, good, decent article about India-China relations. China is our neighbor. GS paper 2, India and its neighborhood relations. Okay, so China is our neighbor. And it is famously said by 𝐴𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐵𝐻 that you choose your friends but not your neighbors. Okay, so China, quite a big power, is our neighbor, and we have to adopt how to live around it. Okay, so everything has to be seen, in India around China lens, from border infrastructure to trade, diversification, defense cooperation. It is a structural challenge, okay, one that requires us to balance deterrence with dialogue, sovereignty. We have to be sovereign and economic interdependent also, and competition, we have to compete with them, but with calibrated coexistence. Okay, so these are good words that you can use in your conclusion of India-China answer, or even if an international relation topic comes in essay. Okay, so that's what the writer is mentioning, that China is unavoidable partner, because even when we want to reduce the trade deficit with him, still India's trade deficit with China is almost $100 billion, around $99 billion. Yet Beijing is one of India's largest trading partners, despite efforts being made by India side that we are banning on their apps, Chinese apps, and restricting certain investments. Still, they are exporting more to us. Okay, so especially in pharmaceuticals and electronics, we deter at the border but depend on the marketplace. So it is talking about words like competitive coexistence, competition with calibrated coexistence. Okay, so we are there on the same seat with China as equal partners in BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but we are also part of Quad, where open Indo-Pacific is the aim of it, and China is seen on the other side of Quad. Okay, so generally China's growing footprint in South Asia also tends to reduce the hegemony, or the influence of regional power like India, because from the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, Pokhara airport in Nepal, large infrastructure loans in Maldives, it has challenged India's traditional role as regional anchor. Okay, though India does act as a first responder in the crisis of in all these in the times of crisis in any of these countries, but long-term engagement is required, which wins hearts and not just headlines. We need to go beyond reactive diplomacy. Okay, so Bangladesh interim leader Mohammad Yunus in Beijing commented on India's northeast, that is this landlocked, right? So this kind of comments reinforce China's strategic framing. Okay, so India needs to close infrastructure gaps and also needs to make right negotiations and discussions with our neighbors. Strategic autonomy is also very important. Recently, PM Modi's remarks on the Lex Fridman podcast signaled a subtle recalibration. He said that India and China shares a healthy competition. So it was in a good direction. Okay, so message to Beijing that India is open to engagement was sent, a signal to Washington of independent judgment. China's response was also positive. China has agreed to hold an early meeting of the expert level mechanism on hydrological data sharing. You should know that China, a lot of rivers that are coming in India comes from China. Okay, their origin is in China, and discussions are underway to reopen the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, but some concerns still remain, like the dam planned by China on Yarlung Sangpo near Arunachal Pradesh has ecological security problem, and water weaponization is also an issue there. So India's China policy must have military readiness, economic diversification, diplomatic engagement, and narrative control. Okay, as India's foreign secretary, these are quotes that you can use in your answers. India's foreign secretary Vikram Misri recently said that three mutuals, respect, sensitivity, and interest, must guide our way forward. And India just can't rely on US leadership. Okay, it has to make sure that it has its strategic autonomy of its own. Okay, let's move to the next article. Interesting article, new pathways for India's creative economy. So you should know what is creative economy. Okay, this comes under GS paper 3, economy. Okay, so in creative economy, so it is given certain data. In world globally, exports of creative services surged to $1.4 trillion, marking a 29% increase since 2017. So creative goods and services are on the boom or on the positive side. Creative goods also reached $713 billion. Okay, so creative economy is generating annual revenues of $2 trillion. Okay, in the worldwide creative economy, $2 trillion worldwide. okay, and 50 million jobs. UNCTAD report on the creative economy says that what is creative economy? What sectors come within creative economy? There are three sectors. First is software services, which is 41.3% of the component. Second is research and development, also comes in creative economy. And third is advertising, market research, and architecture. So these are called creative economy, okay? So India's creative economy, we are also doing good. And there's a data in 2019, creative goods and service exports were $121 billion, in which services, especially software, accounted $100 billion, okay? So these are certain data. So as of 2024, India's creative industry is at $30 billion, okay? So creativity can be segmented into four types: deliberate and emotional, deliberate and cognitive, spontaneous and emotional, spontaneous and cognitive. So the type which is falls in the local innovation that is happening in India falls under spontaneous and cognitive, okay? So creativity is very important. So for anything, for R&D, innovation, creativity precedes innovation. So person has to be creative thinker, okay? Recently, Kumar Birla in his interview said that businessmen are also most creative people that you can see, right? So if creative is not just art, dancing, everything, it is everything. It is entrepreneurship also. So all that ideas also comes in the creativity. Okay, so creators come with ideas. Okay, so one very good best practices of the world that this writer has mentioned is of Indonesia. The Antrodam project. The Antrodam project, it's a pioneering creative solution conceived by the students of Indonesia, okay? So what they were doing, a Binus schools in Bekasi, Indonesia. So they wanted to create a solution to flooding. As you know, Indonesia is facing the rise of mean sea level and its shorelines are getting submerged, okay? Yesterday we read about a hamlet and a village which is already submerged, okay? So they are creating how to, solution to flooding. So how they are learning, how they are trying to be creative here, they are learning from nature itself. Okay, so they explore structures from the animal and plant kingdoms like nests of Indian harvester ants. Okay, how ants, cheetah, okay, engineered a flood protection system that works with nature. It works with nature rather than against it. Okay, the ants have intricate tunnel system. Other things they were inspired was rose petals and their layered design to direct water. The lettuce leaf coral with its intricate branching. So they were getting inspired by the nature, how nature operates, okay? So we have certain creativity in India also, right? That mitti cool clay refrigerator, that ghada and surahi that we talk about, pedal operated washing machines or the amphibious cycles. There's a lot of creativity happening in India. But the problem in India is that creativity also needs money, capital to convert it into innovation and make it a bigger idea, right? So they need government needs to invest in it. Capital is required, right? So government invests in one district. The writer is suggesting that government should try to bring schemes like one district, one innovation, modeled after successful initiative of one district, one product scheme. Okay, and so that is what the article is about, creative economy. This Antrodam project, please use it in your answers. Let's move to the next article. Now this article is talking a lot about constitution. A reminder to the president and governors. Recently, the Supreme Court's judgment in the state of Tamil Nadu versus governor of Tamil Nadu has been a very, very revolutionary, and so every day an article is coming on that, okay? So a reminder to the president and governor, this comes under GS paper 2, polity, constitution, president, governor, federalism. And this writer has also compared US constitution with India's constitution with British constitution. So other topic is comparison of Indian constitution with that of the world. It's a very important topic in GS paper 2, okay? So this case, he is saying that Supreme Court has done right, and he's giving the example of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's statement that the draft constitution, in recommending the parliamentary system of executive, has preferred more responsibility to more stability. So we have chosen parliamentary system of executive and not presidential system of executive. Presidential system is a style of America where they choose more stability. In India, we are choosing responsibility. So though presidential system, it doesn't fall here. If the ruling party doesn't have the confidence, it can fall. So that's why it is sometimes called unstable, but it tends to be more responsible, okay? So that is what it is saying. The American form of government is presidential. right? Where the entire the President of America is the chief head of the executive and the administration is vested in the President of America. But India has parliamentary system and the President in India is the ceremonial head, okay? Like the king under the British Constitution. So President, our President cannot be compared with the US President. He is the head of the state but not of the executive. Please remember these things. India's President is head of the state but not of the executive. He represents the nation but does not rule the nation. He is the symbol. His place in the administration is ceremonial device. On a seal by which the nation's decisions are made known. The President of Indian Union will be generally bound by advice of the ministers. This is the entire quote of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He can do anything contrary to their, he can do nothing contrary to their advice, nor he can do anything without their advice. So he is dependent on the aid and advice of Council of Ministers mentioned in Article 74. Okay, he has mentioned 4 articles. Article 52 of the Constitution, from where Part 5 of the Constitution begins, says there shall be a President of India. Similarly, there is Article 153 from where Part 6, that is state start, it says there shall be governor for each state. Article 74 says a council of ministers with the Prime Minister at the head to aid and advise the President. So President is not independent on its own. She has to abide by Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. Similarly, at the states, Article 163 provides for a Council of Ministers with the Chief Minister at the head to aid and advise the governor. So this writer is trying to say the governor of Tamil Nadu shouldn't act in his discretion but should follow the Chief Minister and his council minister, right? So some other debates the editor has used. You can read this article, Article 52, Article 163, Article 74, all this article you should remember, okay? Article 163, again this thing was, this was the debate, this was the statement of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Another, in the constitutional bench in Shamsher Singh versus State of Punjab, again Supreme Court said that the President is the constitutional or formal head of the Union and he exercises his powers and functions on the aid and advice of ministers. So these articles are also saying, and this case is also saying, it was again repeated in Nabam Rabia versus Deputy Speaker, okay? So President under Article 60 and the Governor under Article 159. So Article 60 is the oath of President. So how will you remember this? 60, O, 60. 0 resembles O, so 60 is for oath of the President, okay? And Article 159 is the oath of the Governor. They will take constitutional oath and affirm to the best of their ability to preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and the law and devote themselves to the service and well-being of the people of India and the states as case may be. So President of India and Governor of states are supposed to behave this way. A decent article to read. Let's move to the next article. This article again talks about almost similar issue where in the case of state of Tamil Nadu versus Governor of Tamil Nadu, but it is talking about that our Vice President is saying that judiciary might be overreaching or it might be interfering in the areas of executive and legislature. This comes under GS paper 2, judiciary is functioning, but the writer has different things to say. So our Vice President thinks there are 3 issues that firstly there is lack of transparency in judiciary and recent judgment of governors, and there is lack of accountability of judiciary towards public, right? So its use of extraordinary powers is not good for democracy. This is what he is saying. But the editor, the writer of this article is differing. They are saying the chief, although of course there should be more accountability and responsibility in the judiciary, they should come with a better way so that there is more transparency how things are happening. It should be clear to the people of the country. The Chief Justice of India should devise a procedure that provides for utmost transparency in such cases and instill confidence in rule of law. But use of Article 142 has been good for the country. There are several cases mentioned. A clear question can come on Article 142 in your GS paper 2, okay? So this Article 142 was used, which is an article where Supreme Court can use it to give complete justice in any case, okay? So judicial activism by the courts, including its use of Article 142, has contributed significantly to the justice for needy. It includes compensation for victims of Bhopal gas tragedy, guidelines against sexual harassment and workplace 1997, famously called as 𝐷 guidelines, cancellation of coal block licenses of 2014, Permanent Commission of Women Officers in Armed Forces, quite a very good judgment, directives to public officials with respect to demolitions. So these are good uses of Article 142. And parliamentary democracy works on the principle that executive is accountable to the legislature, answerable to people in every election. Okay, so parliamentary democracy, we know we are different from presidential democracy. We are parliamentary democracy where executive is responsible to legislature. Okay, judiciary is independent branch that upholds the constitution and its principle and governance. Okay, so our parliamentary sovereignty is similar to Britishers, and the concept of judicial supremacy, it comes from USA, and parliamentary sovereignty comes from Britain, England, right? So it is because that's why. So US has judicial supremacy, Britain has parliamentary sovereignty, and India is quite a mix of both. It's a good synthesis. So Indian constitution scheme is synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty of Britain and judicial supremacy of USA, and judicial review is the basic structure of our country. Good article, you should read. Let's move to the next article. Why did China block exports of rare earth elements? Rare earth elements has become a new oil, where it is very important for important things like electronics, manufacturing, semiconductors, and a lot of defense equipments, etc. So China is a leader in it, both in production, mining, and processing. Okay, so now they will use their strategic power here to use it will use in the trade war that has been started by US Donald Trump. So why did China block exports of rare earth elements? This comes under GS paper 3, industry, rare earth elements. Amid the ongoing US-China trade war, Chinese authorities have reportedly imposed export control on rare earth elements and magnets, which is needed in range of manufacturing. What is rare earth elements? Okay, you should know, this can come in your prelim statement also. Rare earth elements are a series of 17 substances that are present in the earth's crust. Why is it called rare? Not because it is found rarely in the earth. It is called rare. So rare earth elements are found plentifully. It is there in abundance. Okay, that is not the issue. But the rarity comes from the ability to isolate them chemically and make them usable in industrial application. That is difficult. It is difficult to isolate them from the mixture of minerals. It is difficult to isolate them and use it in applications. Heavy and light rare earths occur naturally. So China is targeting dysprosium, gadolinium, lutetium, samarium, scandium, terbium, yttrium, 7 of the 17 elements. Okay, dysprosium, so-called magnetic susceptibility, is used in hard disks and car motors. Gadolinium is used in nuclear reactors and medical equipments. Lutetium is used in petroleum refineries. Samarium is used in personal electronics. Scandium aluminum is used in aircrafts. Terbium is used in lighting for personal electronics, and yttrium is used in cancer treatment and superconductors. Okay, so India is quite behind, quite much behind. We are nowhere actually. Indian supply chain may not be immediately impacted, but slowly it can get impacted. India has recognized the importance of rare earth element. That's why it is, we also have we have a state-owned PSU, which is Indian Rare Earth Limited, which is mining monazite extraction from beach sand in Kerala. India imports a limited quantity of rare earth element. Okay, so recently, I think in January, this scheme was launched. National Critical Mineral Mission (NCMM) has been launched, where India's strategic initiative to secure critical mineral supply chain by increasing domestic critical minerals, and rare earth elements are part of critical minerals. Critical minerals is a larger umbrella. Rare earth elements come within this critical mineral. Okay, so India is trying. The government has said it will facilitate or engage in 1,200 exploration projects, award exploratory licenses to incentivize private exploration, and auction more critical mineral blocks. Very important article. Let's move to the next article. Okay, so 2 ISRO satellites dock successfully for the second time. Okay, this docking is a very important thing. This comes under achievements of Indians in science and technology. ISRO has successfully executed the second docking of the 2 satellites. It's like satellites are arranged in the space in certain way that they move together like this. That is called docking. So this SDX-01 Chaser and SDX-02 Target are part of the space docking experiment SpaceX mission. Okay, so India became the 4th country after US, Russia, and China in the exclusive club to conduct the docking experiment. The SpaceX mission is an important project by ISRO, and it is a technology needed for spacecraft rendezvous, docking and undocking, right? This technology is essential for future missions like sending Indian astronauts to moon, returning samples from moon, building an Indian space station. That is important, okay? Let's move to the next article. Important article, civil services should credit for smooth transfers of power in India. Important from mains point of view. GS paper 2, role of civil services in a democracy. So he's a cabinet secretary and he's saying some positives about civil services and also what are the improvements that can happen. So India has always seen a smooth transfer of power from one government to other government, for which all India services should be given certain credit. The duty of the civil services to preserve the constitutional order such as democracy, rule of law, national unity. It is duty of all India services. And elected government which has mandate, and it is the duty of the civil servant to assist the government in carrying out its policies. And also the officers should be politically neutral, okay, and not just for certain community. And lateral entry, he is saying it is very important. It has to come. And there was a need for greater competence and subject matter expertise. And the era of the generalist type things are gone. Okay, we have smooth transfer of power whenever a government changes compared to our neighboring countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh, right? So ever since transparency was but he's criticizing the annual performance assessment report system, which is not giving right grading to the officers. Okay, some even worst officers are also getting good grading. So that he is calling a disease. Let's move to the next article. So Francis Pope, a great personality. He has done great things. You can use him, use his personality, use his good steps in your ethics and essay. Bring some new examples there. That's why I have taken Pope Francis. Essay, example of good leaders. Ethics, rationalization in religion by Pope, and also his humble living. Okay. So Francis backed reforms but also drew strong opposition. He advocated for migrants. Okay, and he also he had a welcoming stance towards LGBTQ community, and he said, who am I to judge? Okay, you can even start your answer from this, that Pope Francis said, who am I to judge, when he was asked about a gay priest. So generally, Pope and Catholic religion is considered to be very orthodox. Okay, that's against a lot of things like LGBTQ community, abortion, divorces, right? So, but he was better because he was not living a life of luxury. He denied himself the luxuries his predecessors enjoyed. He moved in the bus. He used to ride the bus. He used to cook his own meals. He used to cook his own food. He used to visit slums. And he had simplicity. That's why he took the name of a pope of 13th century who was very simple. Okay, he was born as George Mario Bergoglio, but he took the name of Francis. Okay, so and he also wore very simple shoes. He advocated for the rights of migrants. Okay, so and once time he went to US-Mexico border and he brought 12 Syrian Muslims to Rome with him because he couldn't see their bad life. Okay, so Francis became the first pope to use scientific data in a major teaching document, right, as God's creation. And he also talked about environment. Okay, he called the structurally perverse global economic system that exploits the poor and turned earth into an immersed pile of filth. He was talking about earth, economy. He also allowed women to vote at Synod of Bishops for first time. So he also welcomed women, talked about climate change, talked about science. He urged the clergy to be more accepting of homosexuals, single parents, divorced people. Okay, so these are certain good reforms taken by Pope Francis. Let's move to the last article, last page of the day, science page. Bullseye galaxy with 9 rings may reveal dark matter secret. So scientists are very much interested in dark matter, dark energy, black hole. So this comes under topic GS paper 3, Science and Technology, Awareness in the Field of Space. So scientists have found that a blue dwarf galaxy had passed through a center of Bullseye galaxy. Interaction could have led stars to pile up and form the rings. The first time they have seen 9 rings. Okay, so Bullseye could evolve into a giant low surface brightness galaxy, which is important in the study of dark matter. Okay, so previously ringed galaxies have only displayed 2 or 3 rings at best, but using Hubble space technology, they found that there were 9 rings in here, and this unusual galaxy has been named as Bullseye galaxy. Okay, so the mass of black holes at the center of these galaxies is also lower than usual, meaning they aren't fully evolved. Okay, so you can read this article for more interest, but this much is sufficient. giant low surface brightness galaxies are the largest of the low surface brightness galaxies. Okay, so let's move to the next article. Tiny device enhances pacemakers' abilities. This comes on a GS paper 3, Science and Technology, Development and Application in Everyday Life. So scientists have engineered a pacemaker smaller than grain of rice. Okay, so it can be implanted in a non-invasive procedure, and that it doesn't need an external power source to operate. So this small grain of rice-sized pacemaker will help in easy operations and not an open operations. Okay, the device opens the possibility of replacing other more cumbersome medical procedures, especially for infants born with congenital heart disease. The new device has been made with bioresorbable material, meaning that after the required duration, the pacemaker simply dissolves into the tissue, causing no harm to the person. Okay, that's it for today's article. One question, first life forms on the earth to produce oxygen, it was cyanobacteria. Some fun fact, okay, so, you should know some things. World's most massive living organism is honey fungus. Okay, that's it for 22nd April. Thank you.